show us your tips. Preview show for the weekend. Beaver, it is Memsie Stakes Day, the first Group 1 of the Melbourne Spring. How is life treating you?
Life's treating me okay, yeah. Action-packed race day, particularly at Caulfield. Keen to get into the analysis here and work through the races and see what we can come up for the punters. After not a bad midweek, particularly down in Melbourne, but very disappointed with the way the tracks are playing. Makes it really hard to do your selections and then turn up and tracks are just so biased. It was just front-running tracks,
Both
both
venues.
Sydney and Melbourne.
Yeah, well, Kenzo,
and it just changes the way you got to play.
Yeah, Kenzo never really swung around, so that was a lot of my stuff out of action. But Melbourne, we found a couple. We found a couple of both really, and a couple at a price we suggested ran okay as well. But yeah, I'd call it a break-even day. I think it ended up being for me pretty much. So
yeah, I think that's about right. I think the disappointing thing is even things like what I don't enjoy is when you watch a race and you're hoping your horse gets up on speed, but he gets buried back on the fence. You know, something like Chief Altony in the last didn't quite get away with it. Buried back on the fence, your ticket's confetti.
yeah.
After 300 meters, it's just got to be better than that.
But that was actually that was the concern about Chief Altony.
Yeah, which you got right on that. You hit it right on the nail.
But yeah, you want at least. But the problem is, even though they're not perceived as biased, that the swoopers tracks, I think the feeling is at least you get a chance because you can try and get to the middle of the track. Whereas if you're not 100%. In the one or two lanes that are working on those sort of tracks, which if you identify early enough, don't swim against the tide, as they say, just go with it. But it's hard to do a preview show 48 or 24 hours in advance and flag it that way. That's the problem.
Yep.
So yeah, anyway, I know what you're saying, but frustrating. And hopefully with a bit of dry, they've had the rain now and a bit of drying weather. I don't know if it's going to get better though, given I think we're going to be stuck at your Newcastles and Kemblas for quite a while yet. So we'll see how that all plays out in the coming weeks. We'll start off at Caulfield though, shall we? It's the first Group 1.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Where the rail is true, it'll get to about a dead. It's soft at the moment, but I think it'll get to a dead in the old or a good 4, sort of track, which I've treated as fair for now. We'll see what happens. But Caulfield's been all right lately, so there hasn't been too many demons there. So I'm not forecasting too many tomorrow. We kick off with a 2,400 meter handicap. I don't know if there's any speed demons in this race, but how do you want to start the day in the staying affair?
Yeah, I'm going to go for the favourite Turadin here. I think it's in fine form at the moment. Five starts this prep, 2 wins, last 3 seconds, but has been a little bit unlucky potentially in a couple of those. But it's in the best form here. Gets in with 54, and I think it's probably going to sit closest to the pace out of all the chances here. And I think the other ones, Ed of the Throne, Bedford, Mohammedanes, they all get back. So I just don't think there's potentially enough pace for them, and Turadin probably gets to the front at the 200 and holds on.
Yeah, same for me. It's had the only thing it doesn't tick is the 2,400 meter lead up, but it's slightly raced. It's been up a while. It should be fit enough, and I don't think it's going to be a genuine staying affair. So yeah,
no, that's right.
You've said I think it's going to roll along with control and be very hard to get past. Mohammedanes on its day is led and might put pressure on, but I think the main danger is out of the throne. Like you said, it's been strong through the line last couple, and I think it'll be the same here. And if there is a last man standing situation, might be the one. But yeah, I'm with the market as well. Yeah, the obvious 2, and we'll move along in a less than inspiring start to the day, where I think the key to Caulfield, I think, is how well we identify which favourites they're back, because I think a few of them are going to be winning. It's just which way we play them. Seems to be the theme I found throughout the form here. The second is a benchmark 78 over the 1,100 metres, where I've actually got a couple at odds that I'm sort of keen to look at. Our destination of the Sydney win, heading down as around $8 mark. Damien Oliver going on for the James Cummings stable, I think can run well. And I don't think the Melbourne form is that strong. So I was looking towards that. And he's a bolter who's come over from Adelaide. would have been Jamie Carr. So the breaking news tonight is that Jamie Carr and Ben Allen are out of the meeting. They've been stood down for a COVID breach. So I don't have any jockey changes. So we're flying a little bit blind there, Beaver, unless you've heard anything else. I only just found
No,
out
I didn't even
about
hear
an hour
that,
ago.
mate. So
Yeah,
yeah, I wasn't aware of that. So
they're out of action for 2 weeks. So yeah, very concerning given some of the selections we've got ahead of us. So we'll see who gets the pickups there. And I would be interested, is On Florage coming down here? I want to talk about it, but I think it's staying in Sydney. I'll just double check this. It's still in here. It's still $15. It sat outside lead first up off the long spell and just popped, and you could see its fitness well and truly give out at Kembla a couple of weeks back. I think it's a chance where it ends up, but it's also in one of the races later in day at Kembla. I think it'll run double figures or run better than that. What are you doing here?
yeah, look, probably one of the most open affairs on the day. There's probably any of the top 7 in the market. Look, genuine hopes here, and all the sort of around that $10 mark or under. I'm going to stick with Dirty Thoughts. I tipped it last start. I thought it was a really good third. It didn't have that much luck in running, had to do all the chasing on the outside, and still stuck on quite well after being used up early. I think from gate 3 here, it gets a better run. And I think it probably posies up just behind the speed here, which will probably be, I don't know, Deep Speed will probably lead, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
So I think it can posse up just behind them here. I think it's a real threat in this race. I'm keen to see how the Gouch returns. I think this horse has a bit of ability and won very nicely in its only start last preparation, then was put out, which was interesting. This is probably its toughest assignment to date, so I'll be sort of careful around that. And I think if the pace is on and they can finish on from back in the field early on, Zorro's Dream was outstanding last start down the straight. Has been good all this preparation, freshened up here. Could be the knockout chance. So probably Dirty Thoughts in front of Zorro's Dream with a watch on the Gouch.
Excellent. The third on the day is a 1400 meter benchmark 90 for the mares, so 4-year-olds and up. You've been with Turath, I think, the last couple of times it's been around when we've done the show. You're sticking solid?
Yeah, I'm sticking solid here. It's just been outstanding. It's it'll sit up in the top 3 or 4 in this, probably just off the pace, and be too good. So some good chances in this. Anavista returns and showed some really good ability last preparation. Good and Proper was the same, resuming here. But Turath just probably got the fitness edge here, and it's probably the hardest to beat.
Yeah, and it's sort of that weird benchmark 90 mares grade where a few of these probably will never win a race again, so they're just going around. So the lightly raced Turath is easy to find, obviously another step in grade, but has been doing it pretty well. And Anavisto will be the one to come back. So yeah, I don't have much more to add. I'm in agreement there. The fourth,
they went really fast early last start, and it was entitled not to win, but it brained it.
And out of that race too, Aidensfield was probably only beaten by the draw yesterday. It was enormous running on against the bias.
Against the bias as well. Yeah, so, yeah, it was a big run.
So potentially a horse to follow. I assume it'll turn up again in a couple of weeks at Hillside Aidensfield. So we might get some money out of that down the road. The Group 3 McNeil Stakes over the 1200 metres for the 3-year-olds. We see the boys back for this, including the Blue Diamond winner Artorias. I wasn't overly impressed with Artorias's trial. It looked like it was sort of slugged around, and it's a big horse. I just have a feeling it may even be looking for further already. It's just a gut feel more than anything. And so I was leaning to General Bow, who was pretty good outside lead first up and just only nabbed by ingratiating, and that's obviously A grade form. Just being on pace and giving it too much of a start. Wouldn't be surprised if it comes out and blows his field away at Taurus, but I'm just leaning the other way with the fitness edge there. What are you doing here?
Look, I'm going to go Artorias. I think it's an outstanding horse. We know it handles Caulfield, has a booming finish. I can see it almost unfolding, very similar to the ingratiating race, this one. And based on that, I'm going to go for Artorias. Obviously, General Bow will get to the front and be hard to beat, but sort of hoping it sort of pans out exactly the same way, and Ingratiating and Artorias are similar quality.
Yeah, Heresy would have been nice if it got home at 20s last start, but I think it's now too short. I think it'll run well, but it's just a bit well found off the big SP and running well there. Another one of the favourites on the day of the $1,100 metre heath. It's been a long day, Beaver. Is Masked Crusader returning in a hot race here, off the hot Group 1 racing, I should say. Are you keen to jump in at this price, just under evens?
Yeah, the $1.80, I'm not so sure at the moment. I think we obviously know that it's packed full of class, Masked Crusader, and probably last preparation demonstrated that it was, if it comes back as good as that, if not better, could go on to really big, better things. You probably got to have it on top. But I'm also very keen on Space Boy as well, around the $11. I think Space Boy can, it only just got nabbed last start. The 1100 suits at Caulfield. Probably takes up the running here from gate 3. It'll pack plenty in the straight, and around the 1100, that's probably as far as it wants to go. But if Masked Crusader gets caught up from gate 10 and has to do a lot of work, Space Boy might just nip away.
Yeah, well, clearly best horse, Masked Crusader. The thing is, gate 10, you know where it's going to be. Hawks will want it taken right back to the end, want to come down the outside, and they'll probably complain about the barrier if they run second. So happy to... I think if you can get black figures, I'll probably back it anyway, because some of those Group 1 wins would obviously bolt in here. But with the pace being on in Space Boy, that probably gives Oxley Road a decent tag, who'll run, I think, better than first up. I think wasn't in the best part of the track, and just got nabbed by Miss Albania late there. And Crosshaven to run well as well. I think it's a reasonable horse. So I'd probably want black figures to bet, or better than $2. And an eye on how the track's playing, but best horse, and probably will. I can see how it's going to play out. It's either going to just come down the outside, a bit like Ingratiating, win by 2, or it's going to run second, and everyone's going to talk about how unlucky it was. So there's your 2 options for Masked Crusader. Speaking of good horses, though, the race number 6 is the 1200 metre Cochrane, a Group 3 for the mares, and there is a pretty good one at the top of this market. Our girls back, Probabile returns here. Has had a setback. Otherwise, I think it would be in the Memsie. So I believe it had a little bit of a setback in the prep, but it is a genuine Group 1 horse in not a genuine Group 1 field. I think this is where I'm happy to take the price, and I think I'll be pretty comfortable. I only got beaten by Wet Tracks last prep, and this time it will tail up a field that only has one probably instant celebrity that's only challenger, because I don't think La Mexicana is with us anymore. So yeah, happy to back proper bill here. What are you doing?
Say no more. I'm with you. Looks a pretty good thing if you ask me, in this field, and yeah, shouldn't get tucked away on the fence. Gate 9. Yeah, geez, something would have to go wrong for it to get beat here.
Yeah, I think this is much more comfortable backing this horse here than Masked Crusader, the race before. Say that.
Yep.
We get to the 7th, which is the Heatherly over the 1700 metres. How's this for a race, Beaver? Do you want to back anything?
Oh, geez, it's difficult. I don't go into this with any confidence. Anything can win this. It's a super open field. I think Ziegfeld at $7 is just, I don't know what second favourite. I thought it was super disappointing last start.
I think it didn't run
17 here.
I didn't think it ran 2,000 metres. I think it was going backwards at about the mile. So I think 17 is better, but whether it can get across and it'll want to be rolling along straight behind, no effort to be a chance. I think it's a chance, but
that might be the case. But it had such a soft run in that race against a pretty ordinary field. Like, even if it didn't run the 2,000, at the 300, 200, you would have thought it would have kicked in front, but
Yeah.
it was gone at the 300
Yeah.
or
No, fair
400.
enough. Fair enough. Yeah.
I was disappointed in it. But having said that, it might come out and win, but from gate 17, um, you'd be wanting double figure odds here. Really keen to see how Charlie Rose returns.
Hmm.
It's a horse with a bit of ability and never runs a bad race. If I had to put a horse on top, I'd put Delphi on top from the Freedman stable. So
Oh,
the Irish horse.
yeah.
Um,
That was the worst race of all time, that mile race where we both tipped it, and they were almost going backwards as well at Queensland that day.
yeah.
But
So
now second up Australian prep. So
yeah, second up Australian prep. I'm willing to put a lot pen through the Eagle Farm race, and in an open race like this, Freedman has a way of getting these horses to pop up, and I'll bank on its Irish form being good enough to win a race like this, and obviously they've probably got bigger things in store.
I end up having. I have no confidence here, but I can probably have something Miami bound. I think it's a class horse compared to most of this field. And at 20s, I can have something on no effort just because it might get a soft lead in a field
Yep.
full of no chasers. These might all be trialing for staying races, so it might just win the jackpot and be in front at the 1700 meter mark. But other
Agree.
than that, I don't want to talk about it too many others until we see them all. The Group 1 Memsie is the eighth in a day over the 1400 metres weight for age, won by Behemoth last year. In the past, Sunline's run it twice, Maccabi Diva, Blackheart Bart, Atlantic Jewel. So you think some decent horses and not a bad little field. What are you doing in the Group 1?
Yeah, look, I do like Behemoth. Just love the way it hit the line. It was a bit green, ended up getting up on protest, kind of wanted to duck him behind, but the other thing came out as well. But geez, when he straightened it up, geez, it looked good. The extra 200 metres here suits. Again, I expect it to get a really good trail in this race. And around the $4.20 ish mark at the moment, if you're getting over $4 to $5 on race day, then I'd be happy to back a horse of Behemoth quality in this field. You've got Tofane freshened up. It's flying. An obvious genuine chance. Not so sure about Inspirational Girl just first up. I think it's probably being set for longer. Agan, its last two runs were really disappointing, and Behemoth got it on protest last start, but over the 1400, I just think it'll be too good. And then some of the others are just done up to this class.
Behemoth's the hot 1400 meter horse. What it does, it's 1400 is best distance. What it did like this race last year and then the follow up last spring was very impressive. I don't know who's going to ride it now. We'll wait and see. It's the only question mark. So yeah, easy to like here. I think that was very much a barrier trial. That first up win, a bit green. Only had the young girl, Kayla Crowther on the stronger jockey. I assume it's going to be a stronger jockey tomorrow. As I said, the only question mark now. And just looking through the list, I'm not sure who doesn't have a ride just yet. So we'll see what happens there. The other horse I went looking for, though, Colette, is interesting. It's popped up here. One first up over 1400 metres and has in these sort of big 1400-metre affairs, an outside gate might not be the worst thing and has the absolute A-grade form through Very Elegant and Colding and that Sydney stuff. And at the price, I was happy. It was $12 earlier today. It's about $11 now. Happy to have a bet on that as well. Interested in Tofane. I'm a little bit concerned it might be buried back too far, and from that gate would need a little bit more luck. But was flying in Queensland, and is the other obvious one when we talk quarties, I suppose. But Colette from Behemoth, I think they're the way I'm going to play the race here, and pretty keen actually. The second last is the 1400 metres as well, where we see the return of what's being spruiked as the new best horse in Australia this Ayrton. The best 4-year-old anyway. I think it wins this and probably does it. It can be a bit dumb and get a bit lost at times. I think up in Queensland, it looked a bit sluggish when it just scraped home that first up. So we want to see it. But it's had now, I assume, a spell in Queensland come back, and I'm going to be ready to go here and should beat up this lot if it's going to be heading towards a Golden Eagle and the like. Is that how you're looking at this?
Yeah, look at the price. I'm not so sure. I mean, as you highlighted, it had big raps on it going to Brisbane, and I just didn't think it was outstanding in Brisbane. It fell, as you said, it fell in the first. No, it fell in the first time up there, didn't
Yeah,
it?
it got lost, and then it ran. I think it ran better time than the Stradbroke on Stradbroke Day. That other one.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
then it got beaten by Apache Chase, and then it won be two and a bit lengths, but only beat Ellsberg, who is no superstar. So look at the price at $2.20. I'm just not so sure at the moment. I'd probably and drawing it in gate 12. I'll probably just look for something else outside that on the day. But we'll see. I thought King Magnus is a huge chance at the each way $12. You can get 340 a place there. I can just see King Magnus sitting behind the speed here. Groundswell and Frosty Rocks will go forward. Imperial Lad will go forward. So there'll be a bit of pace on, which will help these. And I think I can see King Magnus just sitting back, smoking the pipe. And it has a really good finish. It gets a 3 kilo claim. Alana Kelly, 51.5. It's got nothing on its back. Groundswell and Frosty Rocks are giving it 7 kilos. I think that's a really good pull in the weights. And I'm happy to have a knockout chance here.
Yeah, gate 1 was my main concern by the end of the day. I'd like, especially if the Alana Kelly, who's riding fine, but we'll need a bit of luck is my concern. But yeah, I like what you said. If it had a drawn gate 8, I would definitely have mentioned it for a saver there, and it definitely goes in the quaddie. Speaking of which, would you like to have the honours of the Caulfield quaddie this evening?
Thank you, Matt. I'm happy to do that for you. Let's see. In the first leg, I'm just going to go number 1 and 2 and stick pretty straight out there. In the second leg, I'm going to go a little bit wider here in what's a tricky race. I'm going to go number 2, 4, 5, 9, 12, and 14.
Okay. As I said, if you're going to throw in at 20s, no effort might be the one there, punters, but happy to stick with Beaver.
Yep. In the third leg, I'm going to go number 2 and number 10.
2 out? Okay.
Just going to go 2 out there. I think one of those 2 will be winning. And then when we get to the last, I'm going to go numbers 3, 10, 11, and 12.
Cool. If you want one at hundreds to throw into your quaddie, outrageous might be the one, but it's now for long way of doing not a lot. Your best and value for pro group racing at Caulfield on Memsie Stakes Day?
My best comes up in race 6, number 1, Probabile. And my value bet of the day comes up in the last, race 9, number 12, King Magnus.
Very good. I'm with you with Probabile. I'm also saying Ayrton will run very, very well in that last race. And my value will be Colette in the Memsie at the double figures. So we have to mention progroupracing.com.au. Check them out for their free tips, extensive guides, and plenty of news as we head into spring. Hopefully, I have some news tomorrow about who's going to ride half these horses, which will be good. And we'll head to Kembla, where it is Rosehill at Kembla tomorrow. Some of the spring lead-ups taking place here, 10 races. Rails in the 4 heavy. I think it gets to soft by race day. It's going to be down the outside like Kembla always is. That's how I've treated it. So let's see how that pans out. You got anything? We do kick off with the highway. You got anything here?
Nothing from me, mate. Happy to have a look and see how the track plays in the first.
The Midway is race 2, 1,300 metre benchmark 72, where I'm saying I think we talked about it with Trent last week, actually, how we'll start seeing some young horses hit the the Midways on the way through and get a bit of prize money. I think it'll happen here for Rosehill. It's been impressive. Its last couple went down to Melbourne, won impressively. Comes here, draws well enough. I think J-Max booked. Yep. So enough intent there where this should be ready to go, and this will be a nice win on the way to something a bit better, I think. Happy to back Rosehill. And if I was going to have a saver, it would be Bowery Breeze. What do you think here?
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think Rosehill looks hardest to beat here. Can make it 3 straight here in this race. I made the main danger ex-Celtic. Just thought first up was good. Liked the way it finished off last start and could be running on.
Race number 3 is a 1,500 metre benchmark 78 for the girls. What do you reckon about this open contest?
Oh, this is a tough race. Hard to get excited about anything here. If I was having a bet, I'd go for something like Pensata around the $7.50, $8 mark. Third up should be at its peak fitness now. 1,500 suits could be the one to back if you're going to have a bet.
Yeah, I no confidence at all. I've sort of put Steel Diamond on top by default, but Nash couldn't even lift over the line last time. I really wish he did because I'd had a good crack at it. I did sit wide, but it was probably the place to be. Given I've sort of come to that conclusion, I'm not overly confident in the rest of the race. Magella's going all right, but I think it's a bit stronger than what it's been competing in. And King, I don't know. So I'm going to just move on from this race and not say much more, actually, because I confused myself. The 4th is a 2,000 metre benchmark 78. Well, it was hard to miss here over the Australian debut of Mancayan, who flew home down south. Looked pretty impressive from the back. Bowman's gone on here. I think this might be a half reasonable horse heading somewhere. I don't know where it's heading. Maybe a what's a 2,400 metre Group 1? I've just forgotten. In Sydney.
Metropolitan.
Yeah, that one. That's the one. Something like that. Might be on the way to a Metrop. So on top for me, but I also think a couple here that I can entertain. Silent Agenda has the right gait for Kembla. Was very soft last time, does lose Nash, but hopefully get some clear air. And I thought Jamara was pretty good last time, riding a pace, and he's Gwenda Markwell at Kembla, which is never a bad thing. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think the Canyon is a real up and comer. I think it's I wouldn't be surprised if this horse gets a start or is looking for the Melbourne Cup. To be honest,
yep.
Metrop gets you a start into that. So yeah, I think it's going to be hard to beat here. Honest as they come by the looks of it, and this isn't an overly difficult field. There,
no,
no world beaters.
Cool. Speaking of no world beaters, I think it might be the case here as well. The Group 3 Ming Dynasty. What do you do with these 3-year-olds? The conclusion I came to was I don't think the lead up's any good, but then I also don't know who's going to beat anything out of the lead up. So I struggled a little bit with this race. Did you have any better clarity?
No, it was a pretty tricky affair. I do think that probably the top 4 in the market hold the key. That's not shedding a whole lot of light on the affair. I did come up with Arnaquer. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Arnaquer.
Arnaquer, that's close enough.
Arnaquer. Won well. First up was well found in the market at Kembla Grange over the 1,400. Was quite a nice win. Had some good form last preparation in some of the top quality races. It's trialled well enough. Had a couple of trials before Kembla Grange, and then freshened up with a nice trial more recently earlier this week at Hawkesbury. So I reckon it looks primed for another good tilt, and think it's suited by the 1400, drawn well. Yeah, it's about the $5 mark.
Cool. As I said, I have no reason to suggest anything else. We'll get to the San Domenico, which is race number 6, the 1100 metre 3-year-olds here, where we see the return of the Golden Slip winner Stay Inside. Is that the way you're leaning?
Yeah, it's a tricky affair. I do think Remark was an outstanding run first up. I just think
a tragedy beat. It
was a tragedy beat, and I don't understand why Paulie is $2.80 and Remark's $4.60. Just don't. I think they should be flipped. To be totally honest, so I think look. Stay Inside's obviously a quality horse, and it'll be interesting to see how it comes back. At the $4.60, I'm just finding it really hard to not back Remark. I think it's packed with potential. I think it's going to be a really, really good horse. And you never know with Golden Slipper winners how they return. They've always had a tendency not to do much after the Golden Slipper in some cases. And some of these other ones improve a lot. So at the price $4.60, I'm slightly leaning towards Remark in front of Stay Inside, but I think they're the only two that can win.
Okay, yeah, I was still giving Paulie a chance, but I think, as you said, the market's right. Stay Inside's trials have been good, and it chugged along and did chase Eduardo in a trial and was fine. Obviously, that's a different kettle of fish having to chase Eduardo in a trial to what it'd been. So I don't think you can necessarily mark it down, but it won the other trial, looked fine. Paulie still did win that race. So we're only speculating Remark should have won, but I thought it was trucking in, and Tommy could have got off the fence a little earlier and maybe put it in, but it is what it is, I suppose. So yeah, they're the three. They'll be the three that go into my late quaddie or early quaddie. And I'll probably just watch and see what happens with the rest of the parade in the market beforehand. The 2,000 metre Premiers Cup kicks off the actual quaddie, where, well, what are you doing here with these stayers?
Look, I think you got to go for the favourite, Heart of Passance. Resuming here, I think it's the best stayer in the race. 2,000 metres first up. Harpo Marks and Spirit Ridge, they've got a bit of ability, but I don't think they're going to be potential Caulfield Cup, Melbourne Cup chances. Heart of Passance, I think that's where they'd be heading for a horse of its ability. The others are a good, solid sort of those coming out of winter horses. Dashing Willoughby just hasn't shown enough yet for me in Australia to be at that price. But Waller has a way of getting the best out of these horses. But Heart of Passance for me. Maybe a horse like No Compromise is very honest. It could run a good race, but that's the way I'm going.
Dashing Willoughby, did nothing in the two big cups, but the two trials were fantastic. It rode along on the pace and showed some pace in both of them, and I actually put it on top. I think the booking of J-Max interesting. I think that's a little bit of intent here to see what it's got in Australia and whether Waller keeps it around. But I actually think it's a reasonable chance in this race from exactly what you said about Heart of Passance. You've summed that up well. And the two Waller line chasers, Moobaroo and No Compromise, they're honest and they'll chase. They'll chase. If nothing else wants to win, they're the two that are going to put their head out and try. So I think we've probably covered the four main chances, but the prices around those other two probably interest me a little bit more. You get around $10 for Moobaroo and No Compromise. I could sort of back both of them each way pretty comfortably. Race number 7, benchmark 88, another sprint on the program. This time over the 1,200 meters, where
race 8, you mean?
Oh, race 8. Sorry, it is 2. Where I thought King of Sparta was sensational 2 weeks back.
100%.
Charged in, ran away, did it easily, and I think this is not really a stronger race. This is borderline midweek, and it brained him. I think it just does the same thing.
Yeah, I think you're right there. turn of foot was outstanding last start. It was very, very good and very impressive. Obviously in good form at the moment, and gate 4 looks to get a really good run here in transit. Can't see why it won't win.
Yep, great. Won't spend any longer. I'm pretty keen actually. The second last is 1,000 meters, benchmark 78. What have you done here?
Yeah, look, tricky affair here. I've gone for Magic Shot. Slightly concerned about the gate in 14. Majestic Shot. Slightly concerned about the gate, but if it can overcome that, again, going very well, like the way it won last start. It was pretty dominant in a fairly similar grade race. It's recently trialled well at Muswellbrook, given a comfortable time. Yeah, I think it's probably the horse to beat here. 2 starts back, ran second behind Ballistic Lover. So that's a really good form line for a race like this. Just hope it can get in from that gate and get enough luck in running to finish off.
I think by this time there'll be no problem with those wider gates at Kembla.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping.
I thought Glen Eagles had a fantastic trial again, like it did last prep before it won pretty impressively, albeit at Hawkesbury. But and then it did go to Queensland in the last prep, but that was when I think it was the day the track was no good at Eagle Farm. But so I didn't worry too much about that. I think it can run well here. You mentioned Majestic Shot, and I think Andermatt tried well enough where it's going to be in this race as well. And I talked about already on Fleurage at double figures, I think will run a lot better than it did first up. But yeah, Glen Eagles at the 2, I guess, new season 4-year-olds for me here. How are we wrapping up the day? Race 10, I didn't have a great deal of in the 1,500 meter benchmark 78. I thought the market was in the right order, but my concern is by this time of the day, all of that market's drawn right to the inside. And I've got a feeling you might want to be out by this time of the day. So I didn't really know then which way to stamp it. It might mean, end of the day, I play something like Hot Spring Gold, who, albeit only in a week 72, but was pretty impressive swoopy and might get a similar setup here. We talked about Too Much to Bear. It comes now to a Saturday and is probably a chance, but, gate 1 might be leader or leaders back. King's Air drawn inside as well. Yeah, drawn inside. I wasn't just sure how this would pan out. Did you have any better clarity on all this as well?
Yeah, look, a tricky affair. Look, I thought Yee was, although it ran second last start, was slightly disappointed at the really short odds, but
it was that windy day too.
It was that windy day, so I'm willing to probably cut some slack there. I think given the way that the track might be playing this time of the day, gate 5 means it probably does sit off the fence and probably able to get in the running line and probably just sit in midfield. There's probably going to be a little bit of pace on up top. Too Much to Bear will probably go forward from the inside. It's not going to want to get very back, so it might sort of sit up on the pace and try and push off and just come down, sort of get a few off the fence. But yeah, so I've kind of just led for Yee on the basis that it might just get the right trail into the race here and can finish it off.
No, fair enough. Yeah, cool. I'll run through and see what we can do for a quaddie. The Premiers Cup race 7. I'll go 1 Spirit Ridge, 2 Dashing Willoughby, 9 Mooberries, 10 No Compromise, 13 Harder Puissance. Second leg, 3 Madam Legend, 8 King of Sparta. What do I do with Tycoonist? Yeah, leave it out. Had enough. Cool.
Leave it out.
The second last will go 4 Majestic Shot, 6 Andermatt, 14 Glen Eagles, 9 On Fleurage, and we'll finish the day with 5 Cordia, 7 Soami, 8 King's Air, 13 Yee, 15 Hot Spring Gold, 17 Too Much to Bear. So a few combinations there, but a trickier day at Kembla, I think, than probably at Caulfield. Very quickly, before we get to up north, just a quick one at Morpheville race. I've just closed my sheet.
Hey, what about a best bet?
Oh, yeah, we did do that too for progretracing.com.au. Your best and value, Beaver.
Yeah, my best is race 8, number 8, King of Sparta.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be super hard to beat. I didn't have a really value bet. Probably one of my best value chances of the day around the $5.50 mark at the moment is Anaquer.
Cool. My best is King of Sparta
Race
too.
5.
Yeah, very hard to beat King of Sparta. And my value, Glen Eagles, race 9. Very quickly, I was going to mention a nice horse returning in Adelaide. Race 7, number 1, Ironclad is back, and I think we'll be winning there. And have you got something for us in Queensland?
Yeah, got a few up in Queensland for us. Race 1, number 3, The Move. Just freshened up for this race. I think it's going to be super hard to beat.
Yep.
My next one that I like is race 3, number 13, Miami Fleece. Got the even money, but should be super hard to beat in that. My next one comes up in race 6, number 5, We Own a Smart One. This is a smart one. Again, only around the even money mark, but should be hard to beat. I'd probably double those two up. And then my last one up in Brizzy comes up in race 7, number 12, Star Tontes. It was a very nice win last start, and got to stick with it, about the $5 mark.
Good little race that with Prince of Boom back as well. Oh, cool. Good work, Beaver. Well done. We look forward to Group 1 Memsie Day for progretracing.com.au. Check them out, as we said, for all your racing news. Subscribe to us. Show us your tips. Obviously, if you're watching us on YouTube, we're also on Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, and anywhere you want to listen to a good podcast. If you don't want to see our mugs, find us on socials as well. Leave us some feedback. Get involved, and good luck this weekend. Stay safe for everyone doing it a bit tough out there. Stay safe, checking in on a friend. Most importantly, watch the races and have a punt.